Hey guys, it's me Helena and welcome back to my channel where we talk all about astrocartography, astrology, and different timing techniques that we can use for our lives. Annual Profections is one of the simplest timing techniques out there, and it's very easy to use, and it really helps you prioritize and focus in your attention on what is most important for you in terms of the transits. Because the thing about when you pull up your transits, you pull up your birth chart and then you pull up all the moving components of what's happening in the sky at that precise moment, that week, that month, is there's a lot of different moving parts. I mean, the moon is always moving, the sun changes every month, there's so many different planets that are moving and circulating all the time. And so one of the best techniques is annual profections, because you can really pinpoint what is the planet that is most activated for me during this time. What area of life is the most turned on or activated area of life in terms of my transits right now. This is a really helpful technique, and I'm really excited to dive in and share it with you. And if you wanted to learn more about astrocartography, you can check out my free guide, which I've put together and I'll include down here in the description box. You can learn all about astrocartography for free, as well as all my free content as well. All right, so annual profections. The thing you should know about annual profections is you do need to use whole sign houses for this. So you can't use Placidus, you can't use another house system to use annual profections. It only works with whole sign houses. So that's the first thing you need to know right off the bat. Second off, I really love Astro Gold software because Astro Gold has a really handy zodiacal releasing feature as well as an annual profections feature. And you can easily pull up what year of life you're in to see what is your activated planet and area of life that is turned on for you that year. I love using Astro Gold specifically for my transit readings and looking at zodiacal releasing for my clients. The other thing you should know about with annual profections is that each year of life symbolizes one whole sign house. For instance, when you are born, you activate your first house, the first area of life, your body, your identity. That first house, whatever transits go through that first house are kind of activated. They're very important, specifically if you are in your first year of life. And I'm going to include a little wheel right here that shows all of the profections or which age you are, and it shows you which house is turned on or activated for that specific age that you are, that year of life. And this is really easy. You just go around the wheel counterclockwise. So for each year of life, you turn on that house. For example, I am 29 years old at the moment, and so my 6th house is activated right now for this year. When I hit 30 years old, my 7th house will be activated for my 30th year of life. And then we just work around the chart and activate all the different whole sign houses depending on how old we are. So what it shows is that whole sign house is perfected for that given year, or that whole sign house is the area of focus, importance, and where there's more activity or just importance for that year, that specific area of life. For example, if you have your 6th house perfected, that means themes of coworkers, pets, and your day-to-day work routines, health routines, nutrition, your daily rituals, that's going to be of utmost importance this year. Whereas if you had your 2nd house perfected, that means money themes, money, spending, budgeting, all of those themes are going to be activated for that given year. Step number 2 that you want to do with annual profections is you want to locate the ruler of that house. So for example, my 6th house is activated this year and I have Aries in the 6th house. So that means the ruler of Aries is Mars. And this is why it's important to know the planetary rulers of each sign. So if you have Cancer, that area of life activated that year, that means you're going to be ruled by the moon for that year. Or if you have Virgo, that whole sign house perfected for that year of life, that means Mercury transits, Mercury themes are going to be important for you for that year. So you want to look to the ruler of that sign of where you have that house. So for that year, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be looking at Mars transits. I'm going to be noting in my calendar when are the times when Mars is heavily afflicted or just challenged, when there's difficult aspects hitting Mars transits. Or if it's a positive Mars transit, if I've got a lot of positive aspects supporting the Mars, I'm going to be noting that. So that's how you would use it, is you want to be focusing on that planet for the year of life to see where is it locating, where is it moving, where is it transiting through, what aspects is it making it. And so you want to be asking yourself as you're looking at transits, where is the ruler transiting right now? So for example, if you have Aries activated or the 6th house for that year, where is Mars right now? Where is Mars transiting? What area of life is Mars transiting through right now? That's of utmost priority. Focus. That's where we're going to be focusing on our attention on in terms of all the transits, all the moving parts. That Mars we're going to be keeping an eye on, and also that 6th house. So those two pieces we're really going to be looking at. And as we're watching that Mars transit through the different areas of life, we're going to look at the aspects too. So if there's a time when Mars is really heavily aspected by, squares or oppositions, or it's really challenged, I'm going to note that in my calendar. If I see Mars really supported, there's a lot of help to Mars at a specific time, I'm going to work with that transit. So that's kind of how you can use this timing technique, is noting the ruler, the planetary ruler, where it's at in terms of your transits, and then also what is going through that whole sign house, that perfected house in that year of life. And this also brings me into my next point, which is when you see something coming up, like a Mercury retrograde or a Venus retrograde or a Mars retrograde, when you see these things happen, it's really important to note that if you have that planet activated for that year. For example, let's say you have Libra activated, the whole sign house that has Libra in your chart for that year of life. And Venus means it's activated for that year of life. And we're going through a Venus retrograde. That means that retrograde is more important for you than, say, anyone else. Everyone's going through a Venus retrograde, but it won't be equally as important for everyone. If you have that planet activated or turned on based on your annual perfections, then that means that retrograde is going to be more important for you. Same with Mercury retrogrades, Mars retrogrades, eclipses, all of these themes, all of these different planets. This really helps us focus, like, what is more important than the other. And the cool thing about annual perfections is you can see that cycles repeat themselves. Themes, storylines repeat themselves. For example, if we look here on this wheel, you can see that, there are 12 whole sign houses, meaning as we work our way around the wheel a second time, a third time, we're going to activate those areas of life again. So for example, I'm in my 29th year of life. So Aries is activated and Mars is activated. The last time that this area of life was activated for me was when I was 17 years old. It was in 2011, 12 years ago, when I was 17 years old. So there's certain themes and storylines that were important when I was 17, and I'm going through that cycle again now at 29. And so that's a really cool way that you can use this technique, is kind of think back on, like, what was going on that year for you, what was happening for you. You can look back at your transits and see what was really important during that time to get some more information. But those topics in that whole sign house are going to play another theme this year during that activated perfected year. Another cool way that you could use annual perfections to see if it's going to be a positive and supportive year or a more challenging year is to locate the sun in your chart. So for instance, let's say you have a day chart. And we know that if you have a day chart, that Jupiter is more supported for you and Mars is more challenging. In your perfected house, if the Lord or the ruler is Jupiter for that year, that can be a very supportive happy year for you. And if the Lord of the year is Mars, that can be a very challenging year for you. And also, of course, night charts. So if you have a night chart or the sun's below the horizon, then that means Venus. If you have Venus activated for that perfected year, that will be a positive, supportive year. And if you have a night chart and Saturn is perfected, or Saturn becomes the Lord of the year, then it might be a more challenging year for you, given that Saturn is a malefic, especially for those that have night charts. And while we have annual perfections, you can look at the years. We also can segment this even further into months. I don't use months with annual perfections as much, but you can definitely use this, especially when you're trying to time things precisely. So for instance, I can see September 17th, I activated the sun for this month until October 17th, and Leo. So the Leo, the 10th house of career, is activated for this month, in addition to the sun. So sun transits for this month only. And then once we get into October 17th, I can see that Mercury will be activated and Virgo will be activated for that particular month. So this is kind of when we're adding in more layers or more details. We're still focusing in on the overall year and and the overall perfected year, that being the main thing, but we can also add additional layers, which would be the months or the perfected months. Annual perfections are one of my favorite timing techniques, and it's really, really helpful to use this technique when you're looking at transits. And it's my go-to technique every time I want to see what's going on for a client or what's going on for someone in their life based on the transits. I always pull up the annual perfections when I'm looking at transits because it's really, really important, and it really helps give clarity and prioritize what is the most important planet and what is the most important area of life for that given year and month. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed this little lesson on one of my favorite timing techniques, annual perfections. So now I'd like to hear from you. What perfected whole sign house do you have activated this year? Have those themes come up for you a lot since you activated this area of life? And also, what ruler, what planet is activated for this year of life? For example, do you have Venus activated this year? And as we just went through this Venus retrograde, was that a big deal for you? Or the Mercury retrograde that we also just recently had, do you have Mercury activated this year? That would have been a really important Mercury retrograde for you. I'd love to hear down below in the comments your stories. I'd love to understand and learn from you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button and that subscribe and the notification bell so you don't miss any future uploads, and I will see you next time. Have a magical day and happy travels. Bye.